G'day, it's Heath here from pickinglessons.com. In this banjo lesson we're going to take a look at a great Celtic tune by the name of the Star of Munster, and we're going to be using the single string technique to play this. So there's a tiny little bit of melodic, but really we're playing the single string technique all the way through the tune. In a moment we're going to take a look at part A of the tune here in this lesson, but if you head on over to pickinglessons.com, you better get yourself a copy of the tablature we're working from. You'll find part 2 of this lesson where we do take a look at part B of the tune and break it down into some exercises while we're learning, and you'll also find an MP3 backing track and play along track you can download there as well. Okay, pickinglessons.com. Okay, so we're in standard tuning for this arrangement, so let's jump on in to the slow playthrough of part A, and then we'll break it down and look at the techniques we need to use. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, part A there, Star of the Munster. We are focusing in on the single string technique for this arrangement and this lesson. So a quick difference between the single string technique and the melodic technique. Single string, we tend to play the notes more on a single string, moving strings of course, but in one position like this. So we're having multiple notes on the same strings as we move through, whereas melodic technique we tend to keep moving and find adjacent strings for our notes. So something like this, as opposed to so there is a slight difference in sound that we get. So you may associate it a little bit closer to, say, a guitar or the way the mandolin might play the melody. Okay, and it gives us a different tone on the banjo. So let's have a look at what's happening here and what we need to do with our fingers for the technique. Okay, so measure 1. Let's have a look at measure 1 here. Measure 1 is a good example of how we're going to use the fingers. So the index and the thumb fingers are what we're using. Now the thumb is going to be playing on the beat. So the first quarter note is the thumb. Now as you move through and play the 8th notes next, we're going to alternate between thumb and index, thumb and index. So the first of the 2 8th notes is the thumb, then the index finger follows the second note, and we're going to follow our rhythm in that fashion. So we have thumb, thumb, index, thumb, index, thumb, index. That is the idea all the way through the tune. So a quarter note is the thumb, 2 8th notes, thumb and index. Doesn't matter how they are played in terms of which strings you're playing, keep following that thumb, index, and your 8th notes. So in this first measure, our thumb and index do cross over between the strings. And what I mean by that is thumb, thumb, index, thumb on string 2, index on string 3. So the thumb has taken the second string and index finger is on string 3. So it might feel like they're going backwards, but again, we're just following the rhythm. So almost like a down, up, flat pick technique, alternating technique. We're using our thumb on the downbeat, index on the upbeat. So take your pick. Any of these measures are going to be great just in terms of working on the picking hand. And again, this first measure, thumb, thumb, index, thumb, index, thumb, index, following that rhythm. That's going to be applied all the way through the tunes. So let's move on and find a couple of exercises here in the tune that we can use for our right hand and our left hand. As we do play through, the left hand has a few different positions. We're in the open position here. We're also playing out of position 2, meaning first finger is going to take fret 2. We're also moving up the neck in measure 4. We'll get to that in a moment. So in measure 2, we're playing in position 2. First finger will take that second fret. So our third finger can reach comfortably. There's always more than one way of approaching your fingers. In the tablature I've marked this as position 2, so finger 1 and finger 3. Take your pick. You could also use your second finger and your little finger if you like. Whatever you're comfortable with, but in the tablature, first finger, so we're playing in position 2. So the third finger can take that fourth fret really comfortably. So remembering the right hand, thumb, index, thumb, index, thumb, index, thumb, thumb, index, thumb, index, thumb, index, thumb on that last quarter note. Okay, in measure 4, we're moving up the neck. And we have a tiny little bit of melodic there to catch those melody notes in this portion of the tune. As we're moving up, first finger, little finger, third finger, first, fourth, third, first and second. And there's our little melodic run. That's the only one in the tune. Okay, so we have first position or open position, we have second position, we also have up to the 5th position, fret 5 there. And just keep an eye on the tablature for your fingers if you're not too sure. There is always more than one way of going about it, but the way that is in the tablature will work really easily if you can get to know that. Main thing is keep it consistent. So that's about it for what you need to know for this tune. Take it slow, get to know each of these measures from memory, and you can use each of these measures as an exercise as you work through the tune. It'll help you learn it, but it'll also help consolidate the right hand for this single string technique. And then when we do need to change positions, so you may practice measure 1 and measure 2, for example. Get used to the 2 position changes. Just being really smooth. And the right hand, thumb, thumb, index, thumb, index, thumb, index, thumb, index, thumb, index, thumb, index, thumb. Really consistent, thumb, index, like I mentioned before, like an alternating flat picking technique. Our thumb plays the downbeat, our index plays the upbeat. That's really consistent. If you can get used to that, it does certainly make this technique easier. There's always times where you may need to differ that, but in this tune we don't. So it's a really nice way of getting a consistent picking technique for the thumb, index, following our 8th note rhythm. Okay, so part A here of the Star of Munster. If you head on over to pickinglessons.com, you will find part 2 of this lesson, and we will break down part B of the tune. You'll get yourself a copy of the tablature as well. And you'll also have your backing tracks and play along tracks there that you can download to use as part of your practice. At pickinglessons.com, I'll see you there.